Hello, I'm Miranda, and welcome to another Warmachine battle report. I play Khador, and today I have a 35-point battle against Cryx. Khador is being led by Kommandant Irusk with the mighty Behemoth and his trusty war dog, a Manhunter and Widowmaker marksman, a unit of Widowmakers, a full unit of Man-o'-War Demo Corps, and a full unit of Winter Guard with unit attachment and Kovnik Joseph Grigorovich. Today, Cryx is being led by Mortenebra with Darylis. Her battle group includes Deathjack, a Stalker, and a Death Ripper. For good measure, she also brought 3 Slayers, 2 Warwitch Sirens, and a Necrotech with a Scrap Thrall. My opponent won the starting roll and chose to go second. We are playing the Steamroller 2014 scenario Incursion. 3 flags have been placed along the center line of the board. My army lines up against the edge of the deployment zone. The Behemoth sits in the middle with Irusk, and the Man-o'-War and Winter Guard are to each side. Mortenebra deploys behind a building along with her large battle group. The Manhunter starts on the left of the battlefield, and the Widowmakers deploy on the right flank. Deathjack starts up the center of the field. Khador turn 1. Irusk allocates 1 focus to the Behemoth and keeps the rest on himself. The Manhunter positions herself in front of one of the far flags. The Widowmakers activate and issue a run order. They then run over to the other far flag on the field. The Winter Guard also issue a run order and head up the center of the field. Kovnik Joe moves up and gives his speech, Courage of Our Forefathers, granting the Winter Guard unit Tough and Fearless. The Widowmaker marksman moves around the corner to keep an eye on the center flag. The War Dog advances behind the Winter Guard. Irusk activates and spends 3 focus to cast Superiority on the Behemoth, then another 2 focus to cast Iron Flesh on the Winter Guard. He camps the last point of focus, then moves up to hang out with the War Dog. Behemoth activates and spends a point of focus to run. With Superiority, he is speed 6, so he can run up to 12 inches, but he just moves into the group of Winter Guard. The Demo Corps activate and issue a run order, moving 8 inches up the field. Cryx, turn 1. Mortenebra allocates 1 focus to the Stalker and 1 to a Slayer. Deathjack gives himself 2 focus because he can do that. A Slayer activates and spends a focus to run. He then tows into the forest. The Stalker activates and runs toward the far flag. He moves into the forest. A Warwitch Siren walks up and tows into the forest, then uses Power Booster to put a focus on a Slayer Helljack. The Slayer then activates and runs up the board. Mortenebra activates and scuttles up behind a building. She is spending 3 focus to cast Spectral Steel on Deathjack, granting him 2 armor and Ghostly. Deathjack moves up toward the center flag. The Scrap Thrall runs up the center of the board. The second War Witch Siren runs up behind Deathjack. The last Slayer also walks up to the center of the board. The Necrotech runs up and moves into the forest. Darylis moves up behind one of the Slayers. And finally, the Death Ripper advances up and makes his way toward my Widowmakers. Now we roll to see which flag disappears. The flag near the Manhunter and Stalker is now gone. Khador turn 2. Irusk starts out with 7 focus. 1 is spent to upkeep Superiority and 1 to upkeep Iron Flesh. He then allocates 2 focus to the Behemoth's Subcortex. The Manhunter activates and charges the Stalker. She has enough movement to meet him in the forest. She needs an 8 to hit the Stalker and manages to pull it off. She rolls 4 dice because she is a charging weapon master. Against the armor 13 Bonejack, I rolled dice -2 and caused 17 damage to column 2. This knocks out the Jack's movement system, bringing it to defense 7. The Manhunter attacks again with her second axe and hits, dealing another 5 damage to the Stalker and destroying him. The Winter Guard activate and issue a bob and weave order. They move 5 inches because of Iron Flesh. Two Winter Guard make a combined ranged attack against the Scrap Thrall. Its defense is 11, so I only need a 4 to hit, which I make easily, which explodes the Scrap Thrall. No one is close enough to be harmed by the 4-inch blast, though. Another 2 soldiers make a CRA against Deathjack. I need a 6 or better against the defense 13 Helljack, and miss. Kovnik Joe moves up again and repeats his speech to make the Winter Guard tough and fearless. Then for fun, he shoots at Deathjack. The attack hits, but at dice -9, he does no damage. The Behemoth activates and targets Deathjack with its bombard cannons. I have an aiming bonus for sacrificing movement, but still need a 7 to hit. The first shot misses, and the blast just barely misses the War Witch Siren. I boost the second shot, and this time it's a direct hit. I also boost damage, rolling dice -7, and cause 4 damage to column 1. The Widowmakers activate and all sacrifice movement for the aiming bonus. They need 4s to hit Deathjack. The first shot hits, causing 1 point to column 2, thanks to the sniper rule. The second shot also hits for another point. The third shot misses, and the last one hits, causing another point of damage to column 2 in my flimsy attempt to take out the left arm system. Since that failed, the Widowmaker marksman runs into the Winter Guard unit to help support the opposite flank. The Man-O-War Demo Corps issue a run order and spread out in front of Behemoth. Irusk activates and moves up behind the Winter Guard. He then spends 3 focus to cast Inhospitable Ground, causing enemy models to treat open terrain as rough terrain if it is in Irusk's control area. The War Dog advances up to stay with my Warcaster. Cryx turn 2. Mortenebra upkeeps Spectral Steel and allocates 2 focus to Deathjack and 1 to the Death Ripper. Mortenebra activates first and casts Terminal Velocity, granting free charge and power attacks to her battle group. Deathjack activates and tramples toward one of the Man-O-War. He crosses over 2 Winter Guard bases. Since the trample put Deathjack outside of Mortenebra's control area, he does not get the benefit from Terminal Velocity. He needs 9s to hit the Winter Guard. The first attack misses, and the second attack hits. The Winterguard fails his tough roll and becomes a soul for Deathjack. The soul is immediately spent to heal Deathjack for 1 point on column 2. Now he starts in on the Man-O-War. He attacks the first one, needing only a 2 to hit. The first attack hits, and at dice +2 deals 6 damage to the Man-O-War. Deathjack attacks the same model and hits, which kills the Man-O-War. He gains another soul, which he uses to heal for 4 more points to column 2. He attacks the next Man-O-War, which hits and causes a lackluster 5 damage. The Jack swings one more time, but misses. The Man-O-War and Deathjack are left staring at each other, both puzzled by what just happened. The Death Ripper activates and just moves toward the Flag and Widowmakers. A Slayer activates and charges the Winterguard. He can charge for free because of terminal velocity. He goes 1 inch before hitting rough terrain and can only go another 5 inches. The charge fails. Another Slayer charges into the Winterguard, but suffers in the rough terrain, so his charge also fails. Darylis moves up and performs Spell Slave to cast Doom Spiral at one of the Winterguard. He rolls double 1s and misses. The War Witch Siren moves up and uses her spray attack, Venom, on my Manhunter. She needs a 7 to hit and makes it. The attack is dice -4 with Corrosion. She rolls exactly enough to kill the Manhunter. The Necrotech moves up behind one of the Slayers. The third Slayer moves up just outside of the Inhospitable Ground effect. The last War Witch Siren moves in front of Mortenebra. Khador, turn 3. Irusk upkeeps Iron Flesh and Superiority. He allocates 3 focus to Behemoth's primary cortex. The Demo Core activate first and position around Deathjack, then start swinging. They are all using their Icebreaker ability, which will add an extra die to damage. The first guy needs a 6 to hit, which he makes. The attack is power 14, which is dice -7, and Deathjack takes 7 damage to column 6. The second Man-O-War also hits and causes 3 damage to column 2. The third Man-O-War misses, as does the last one. Behemoth activates and walks toward Deathjack. With Superiority, he only needs 5s to hit. The first attack connects. The attack is Armor Piercing 12, which comes out to straight dice for damage. Deathjack takes 5 damage to column 4. The second initial attack hits, causing 6 damage to column 6. I buy an attack, which misses. I buy another attack, which hits, causing 7 damage to column 6. I buy one last attack, which hits and causes 11 damage to column 2. This is enough to destroy Deathjack. But wait, there's more. Behemoth now shoots his bombard cannons. The first shot is targeting the Necrotech. I need an 8 to hit. The attack misses and drifts 2 inches behind the target, but still catches him with power 7 blast damage. I roll dice -6, and the Necrotech takes 4 damage. The Behemoth fires his second shot at the same target and hits directly this time, and finishes off the Necrotech. The Widowmaker Marksman activates and targets Darylis. He sacrifices movement for an aiming bonus and needs only a 4 to hit, which connects. I rolled dice -2 for damage and do just enough to kill Darylis. Khador activates and performs the speech for the Motherland, granting boosted attack rolls to him and the Winter Guard unit. He then takes a shot at one of the Slayer Helljacks. The attack hits harder than I expected and causes 7 damage to the Slayer. The Winter Guard activate, issue a bob and weave order, and move up. One of the soldiers makes a grape shot attack on a Slayer, catching a War Witch Siren in the spray. I hit the Jack, but miss the War Witch Siren. The attack does no damage to the Jack. Another Winter Guard makes a spray attack against the same War Witch Siren, which also catches Mortenebra. I need a 10 to hit the Siren and Warcaster, and make both of the shots. I roll dice -3 on the War Witch Siren and completely destroy her. I cause 1 point of damage to Mortenebra. 4 Winter Guard make a combined ranged attack against a Slayer. This puts me to Rat 9, so I need a 4 to hit. The attack hits, and the Slayer takes 2 points of damage to column 6. 5 more Winter Guard make a CRA against another Slayer, coming from the officer. I need a 3 to hit, and make it. I roll straight dice for damage and cause 6 damage to column 2. The Widowmakers activate. One moves to base the flag, and the other 3 stand still to get the aiming bonus. They are all going to shoot at the Death Ripper. The guy who moved needs an 8 to hit, and misses. The remaining 3 need 6s to hit, which proves to be too much for them. They all 3 miss. Irusk feels it might be better he lead from behind and moves into cover behind a building. He then feats. Models in his control area are fearless and gain 4+ tough. The War Dog joins him. Cryx turn 3. Mortenebra will not allocate any focus this round. She then scuttles out from behind the building toward the Death Ripper. She casts Void Gate through her arc node at my Widowmakers, targeting the leader. She needs a 7 to hit and boosts the attack. She rolls a 3 on 3 dice. The AoE drifts behind the Widowmakers. It cannot drift more than 2.5 inches because of the distance it was cast at. It catches 2 Widowmakers at dice -4. The attack kills both models and triggers a command check. They fail the check and are now fleeing. The Death Ripper moves into melee with a Widowmaker. He needs an 8 to hit, but misses. A Slayer moves into melee with the Winter Guard. He attacks the one on his left, needing 10s to hit. All 3 initial attacks miss. Another Slayer also engages the Winter Guard. He misses with the first attack, but hits with the second. It's power 16, so I make a tough check, and pass. The feat prevents my model from being knocked down as well. The Jack's third attack hits, triggering another tough roll, which succeeds. The War Witch Siren moves up and performs Power Booster on the last Slayer, putting 1 focus on him. The last Slayer charges my Standard Bearer. He needs a 10 to hit, but all 3 of the Helljack's attacks miss. Cryx gains 1 control point for the outside flag. Khador turn 4. Irusk upkeeps Superiority and Iron Flesh. He allocates 3 focus to Behemoth's primary cortex. The Broken Widowmaker unit activates. 1 disengages from the Death Ripper, causing a free strike, but the Bonejack misses. I make another command check, needing an 8 or less, but the unit does not rally. The Winter Guard activate and bob and weave again. They are trying to disengage from the Slayer Helljacks. The first model is hit with a free strike. and they are not tough this activation, so he dies. The Slayer misses the other Winter Guard. The second Slayer misses the first soldier disengaging, but catches the second one and the third one, killing them both. The third Slayer catches all 3 Winter Guard who attempt to leave melee range, slaughtering them all. I need a 9 or less. The unit does not break. 1 Winter Guard takes a grape shot attack at the War Witch Siren, needing a 10 to hit. He misses. 3 Winter Guard make a CRA against a Slayer, coming from the officer. She needs a 4 to hit and makes it. I roll dice -2, causing 4 damage to column 5. The last Winter Guard takes a single shot at a Slayer, needing an 8, but misses. Kovnik Joe activates and gives the speech, Courage of Our Forefathers, to make the Winter Guard tough and fearless again. He then takes a shot at the third Slayer. His shot misses. The Widowmaker Marksman moves up to try and get within 5 inches of the War Witch Siren, but is just short. The Demo Corps issue a charge run order. 1 goes after the most damaged Slayer, and the other 3 go after the Slayer closest to the flag. The first Demo Corps declares Backswing, needing 6s to hit. The first attack misses, but the second attack hits. It's a power 14 attack, which is dice -3, but just hits the armor. The next Demo Corps also declares Backswing, needing a 6 to hit, and makes it. The Slayer takes 5 damage to column 6. The Backswing is also successful, causing 1 more point of damage to column 6. The next model declares Backswing and misses with the first attack, but hits with the second one. The Slayer takes 8 damage to column 3. The last model declares Backswing. He misses the charge attack and hits with the Backswing, but I only hit the Helljack's armor. Behemoth activates and charges at an oblique angle at one of the Slayers. I need 5s to hit because of his superiority. The first initial attack hits. I roll dice +3, causing 13 damage to column 6 and knocking out the Jack's movement. The second initial attack also hits, causing 7 damage to column 5. I buy an attack, which barely makes it, and causes 12 more damage to the Slayer, which is enough to destroy him. The Behemoth then makes his bombard shots, targeting the War Witch Siren. Since she is stealth, they auto-miss, but the attack might catch her with some blast damage. The first attack drifts too far, and so does the second one. Irusk activates and runs up to make his way toward the outside flag, then tows into the forest. The War Dog runs to keep up with Irusk. Cryx gains another control point for controlling the outside flag. Cryx, turn 4. Mortenebra allocates 1 focus to a Slayer and keeps the rest on herself. The Slayer activates and shifts into melee with 2 Man-O-War Demo Corps. He needs a 4 to hit and makes it. The model takes 6 points of damage. The Slayer attacks the same model with his tusks, hits, and causes enough damage to kill the Demo Corps. The Slayer attacks the next Man-O-War with the crippled fist and misses. He then buys an attack with his good arm, which soundly hits and finishes off another Man-O-War. A War Witch Siren activates and performs Power Booster on a Slayer again. The Slayer walks into melee with the Behemoth. The Helljack needs a 5 to hit and makes it. He rolls dice -5 for damage and boosts the roll. Behemoth takes 4 damage to column 1. The Slayer attacks with the crippled arm and hits, but does no damage. He attacks with the tusks, hits, and does 1 point of damage to column 4. The Death Ripper activates and engages the Widowmaker. He needs an 8 to hit, makes it, and eliminates another Widowmaker. Mortenebra moves up and casts Doom Spiral through the Death Ripper, targeting the last Widowmaker. She boosts the attack, needing a 7, and hits for enough to kill. Cryx is up to 3 control points on the scenario. Khador, turn 5. Irusk upkeeps Superiority and lets Iron Flesh drop, then allocates 3 focus to Behemoth's primary cortex. The remaining Demo Core activate first. The first one declares Backswing and attacks the Slayer, needing a 6 to hit. He makes it and rolls dice -3, causing 2 points to column 1. The Backswing also hits, causing another 5 damage to column 1. The last Demo Core declares Backswing on the Slayer. The first attack hits at dice -3 and causes 8 damage to column 5. The Backswing also hits, causing 5 more damage to column 3. Khador Joe activates and repeats his speech, "Courage of our forefathers." He then walks up and attempts to shoot the Death Ripper. He needs a 9 to hit, but misses. The Winter Guard issue a run order and head toward the outside flag to contest it. Behemoth activates and charges the Slayer by the center flag. The engaging Slayer makes a free strike, but misses. The Behemoth will hit this Slayer on anything but double 1s. The first attack hits, and at dice +3 easily destroys the Slayer. The Widowmaker marksman forfeits his movement to aim at the Warwitch Siren. He needs a 5 to hit. The shot connects, and I roll dice -1 for damage, and finally kill her. The War Dog runs to the outside flag. Irusk runs to the center flag with Behemoth. Khador gains 1 control point. Cryx, turn 5. Mortenebra holds onto all of her focus. The Death Ripper activates first and moves in to engage the Winter Guard officer, who is currently only defense 12. He needs a 6 to hit and makes it. It's power 13, which is straight dice, and hits for enough to trigger my tough roll, which I make. Mortenebra activates and charges the Winter Guard. She needs a 6 to hit the soldier and makes it. At power 12, I need to make a tough roll, but fail. She attacks another Winter Guard with Doom Spiral, which also hits, but this soldier makes his tough check. She repeats the spell at a different Winter Guard and hits. He is not tough. She sends a Doom Spiral at my War Dog, needing a 7. She hits and boosts the damage, which triggers his tough roll, which he fails. The last Slayer attacks the Man-of-War with his crippled arm. He needs a 4 to hit. The first attack misses, but the tusks hit at power 12, which is dice -4, causing 1 point of damage to the Demo Core. Khador scores 1 control point. Khador turns 6. Irusk upkeeps Superiority and allocates 3 focus to Behemoth's subcortex. The Man-of-War activates and swings on the last Slayer. The first one declares Backswing. He hits and causes 7 damage to column 2, which finally destroys the Helljack. There is no other target in range for Backswing. Kovnik Joe activates and gives his speech for the motherland, granting boosted attack rolls for him and the Winter Guard. He then takes a hand cannon shot at Mortenebra, needing a 9 to hit. I roll dice -4 for damage and cause 2 damage to Mortenebra. The Winter Guard move up toward the Cryxian Warcaster and must take a terror check, needing a 9 or less. The unit is okay. 2 Winter Guard make a CRA at Mortenebra, needing an 8 on 3 dice. It connects, and I roll dice -2 for damage. Mortenebra takes 9 points of damage. Behemoth activates, sacrificing movement for an aiming bonus. He is targeting Mortenebra with his bombard cannons, needing a 9 to hit. I boost the attack, but still miss. Behemoth shoots the second cannon, also boosting. This time it's a direct hit. I roll straight dice for damage and boost it. The attack causes 5 damage, which is just barely enough to kill the Warcaster, resulting in a Khador victory. So to talk about the game afterward, we have Emily here who fought with me today. So thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We had Mortenebra versus Prime Irusk, 35 point. You're kind of a fan of her, right? Mortenebra?
I am.
Mortenebra, or however you say her name.
Morty.
Morty. You're a fan of Morty.
I am a fan of Morty. Yeah.
What do you like about her?
I really like her tiers.
Yeah. So and she was playing in tier today.
I was playing tier 4.
Right. Which the benefit is
+2 on your deployment zone.
Yeah.
All the Helljacks have stealth for the first round, and all your Helljacks are cheaper by 1 point.
Okay. So yeah, she was starting out. She went second, obviously, and then she's starting at a 12-inch deployment zone, and Deathjack is
advanced deploy.
So 18 inches up
18 inches out,
and I'm 7. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
And then you were kind of playing for scenario a bit.
Yes. Yeah, no, I was going for scenario because there was no kill box, so both of our casters were pretty well
there was a lot of
tucked safely behind the buildings, just
to avoid getting charged to the face.
Yeah, so with all of your big old friends out in front, I was definitely going for scenario.
Yeah.
I did run up the Stalker, hoping that flag would not be the one to disappear. Then that was the one that disappeared.
And what happened to that Stalker?
What did happen to that Stalker?
So my Manhunter, so we actually played a game earlier this week at Valhalla, and my Manhunter did nothing against that same Stalker. Like, we played kind of a similar list, except I was running the Old Witch. And she did nothing and got eaten alive by that Slayer. So I like to think this was her revenge.
Karma.
It was. Yeah. So she kind of almost one-shotted it. But that game, like, a lot of our stuff had a lot of staying power. You had, what, 3 Slayers?
I had 3 Slayers.
Armor 17. No buffs to armor.
No. Up against
Behemoth. Full unit of Demo Corps.
Yeah. And it was about 4 rounds of them. Okay.
Yeah.
They were okay.
It was turn 5 before I killed the last one.
I believe one friend had 9 boxes left. And almost all of his systems were fine.
It was beautiful.
It was a nice time.
So that's dice, though, right? Like, you think you have this moment where, like, oh no, everything hits hard. I've got Mat 7. I've got hard-hitting things. Yeah, just never ever rely on it.
So yeah, as it were on, Deathjack kicked the bucket pretty early.
He did. It was kind of hard with how much was run up front because we had. I don't know, the way the terrain was set up, it seemed to really kind of push us to the middle. Mm-hmm. And, yeah,
you had a bottleneck going on your side.
I did. It kind of worked out, I think, so.
Well, clearly, because you won.
So barely winning on the end.
So yeah, by the end of it, I was at 3 points.
You were at 3 points, and I was at 2. I think. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
So I was going to dominate.
The far flag.
The far flag. Went to charge one of your friends. Mm-hmm. But
that would be the Winter Guard.
Yeah, the Winter Guard. And unfortunately, I was about an inch away from the flag still when he would have been leaving my melee range, so I had to stop the charge.
Yeah.
And take it there.
You did kill him.
I did kill him. Yeah.
So yeah, it was a pretty epic fight overall. Kind of kept it. Didn't know who was going to win at the end, and I guess Mortenebra kind of had to come out.
She did.
And that was all it took.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally. Thanks for coming on. What got you into Cryx anyway? So that's kind of your main army, right?
It is. Yeah, that's pretty much all I play. Well, I got into Warmachine in general a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And I do play pretty infrequently.
Yeah.
Every month or so. But I don't know. I like Cryx. I like the look of them, of course.
Yeah. You like that they're like really evil?
Yeah.
And want to destroy all of life?
I do like that.
Okay.
Praise the Dragon Father. So, I like Mortenebra because usually Cryx is so infantry heavy. And
this is true. You had a lot of jacks, and
yeah,
you're fine.
And you can't. Yeah, you take no units when you're in tier. So it is a different play style when you're doing her. So it kind of changes it up.
Yeah, no, it is actually really nice and kind of refreshing to fight Cryx in that capacity where you're not just wading through scrap thralls and mechanic thralls and
full unit of Bane thralls. Full unit of Bane knights and yeah. So.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much again for the game.
Thank you.
So we're just enjoying our tea here at Valhalla, and hopefully we'll be here next year to show you another one.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.